Hi everyone, it's Jordan Lauren Levy, your Miss Universe Jamaica 2023, and I'm here at the Lupus Foundation of Jamaica. And I want to share very special to be here because it's Lupus Awareness, a disease that affects many people in Jamaica. This is Lupus Awareness Month, and be aware that this is October 22nd. There's a Lupus Symposium at UWI, and I want you guys to check it out. Thank you. Anything in life. So hi everyone, it's Jordan Lauren Levy, your Miss Universe Jamaica 2023, and I'm here at the Lupus Foundation of Jamaica.
Good evening, everyone. It's Ask the Expert Live, and it's another Lupus Awareness Month for 2023. And it is my pleasure to host another Ask the Expert Live. We do apologize for the late start and having just a few technical issues here. But nonetheless, please call your friends, call your family, call everyone who will truly benefit from this, this opportunity to ask a world-class expert all your questions on lupus. And the theme is lupus and the heart, lupus and the heart. And we know the importance of cardiovascular disease in the context of causes of death. And we know of the high burden that we do have in our population being of African descent. So we know that this is a very important topic. So we are live on Facebook and on YouTube. And so please do call everyone out to join in this opportunity to just have your questions answered and just be enlightened. We know that knowledge is power. And this is a partnership, Loop Us. The theme, Loop, you, me, us, together, stronger. We're stronger together. So we want to thank Dr. Karen Costenbader for her partnership with the Lupus Foundation of Jamaica to do this this year's Ask the Expert Live. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. And before we actually jump into the questions, we are going to have her just talk to us a little bit about this topic. And so she is a professor of medicine at Harvard Medical School. She's a rheumatologist and translational epidemiologist whose research focuses on clinical and translational studies of systemic lupus erythematosus, SLE, and rheumatoid arthritis. So she received her training, so her MD at Harvard Medical School in 1995, and subsequently her Master's of Public Health at the Harvard School of Public Health in 2002, and her focus was clinical effectiveness. So she holds several positions and scientific appointments, including the Lupus Program Director, Brigham and Women's Hospital. She's the chair of the Medical and Scientific Advisory Board, Lupus Foundation of America, the National Institutes of Health, Arthritis and Musculoskeletal and Skin Diseases Special Grants Review Study Section member. And she's a co-editor of the journal Arthritis and Rheumatology. Her expertise is in clinical, epidemiologic, and translational studies of populations with SLE and RE. You know, two complex and difficult to understand autoimmune rheumatic diseases that disproportionately affect women and those of non-European ancestry, such as our Jamaican population with substantial morbidity and mortality. Her work has investigated risk factors and disparities in the development of these diseases and in the long-term outcomes of those affected. Her studies have used large cohorts of patients, including the National Health Study, the Women's Health Study, the Black Women's Health Study, the Vital Trial, and various other databases. And it's important to note that she has made several notable contributions to the scientific world, environmental and psychosocial risk factors for lupus, in determining what are the social constructs, those that determine and affect the mental health needs and affect the ability to achieve equity in the treatment of rheumatic diseases. And very relevant to us today, cardiovascular disease and other comorbidities amongst patients with SLE. Now, she has a number of ongoing and recently completed projects that I really want to highlight this in particular, cardiovascular disease epidemiology in patients with lupus. Now, for her work, she has had numerous honors, including investigator awards bestowed upon her, including the Distinguished Chair in Clinical Rheumatology at Brigham's Women's Hospital and the Ira Goldstein Memorial Award for Rheumatology Research Achievement from New York University. So she's eminently qualified to answer all our questions this evening, and it is our honor that she accepted our invitation. So we just welcome you, Professor Costenbader, and thank you so much for joining us, and I'll give the floor to you.
Well, thank you so much. That was a long and very nice introduction. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be with you and to talk about the heart and lupus during Lupus Awareness Month in Jamaica. Yeah, I'm very involved with the Lupus Foundation of America, so it's very nice to connect with the Lupus Foundation of Jamaica. I have never been to Jamaica. Maybe someday it would be even nicer to come and see you in person. And it's really nice to establish these connections, and I hope I can answer some of your questions tonight. I don't know how many questions there'll be. I have just a couple of slides for intro, and then there may be questions about what you can do to predict heart disease in lupus, who gets heart disease in lupus, what you can do to prevent heart disease, and anything else. If I may or may not be able to respond. But is it okay if I share screen and show a couple slides to start?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead,
Or we're
please.
waiting for, let's see. I have to put this on. Just a second. Yes. Okay, so heart disease or cardiovascular disease and lupus, and I really just have a couple slides to go through, and then I'm happy to take questions. But I have a few disclosures, not really. But I just wanted to talk about the diverse and different ways that lupus can affect the heart. As we know, lupus is a very interesting and complicated and difficult to diagnose and often difficult to treat disease that's characterized by inflammation and autoantibodies, in which the B cells and the lymphocytes are making autoantibodies that attack self, and then there's generation of immune complexes and deposition of complement immune complexes in many different organ systems. And so really any organ system in the body can be involved in lupus, which makes it really difficult and challenging disease often. But we can get ahead of it. We can get ahead of it and try to turn it off. But in terms of how lupus can affect the heart, it can affect the vessels in particular. So it can be peripheral vascular disease or heart disease. So heart in the heart or any of the other vessels. It can affect the sac around the heart, the pericardium. It can affect the heart valves, especially in people who have antiphospholipid antibodies, which is associated with lupus. It can affect the heart muscle tissue, the myocardium, and it can cause electrical disturbances. Often these go together, so the patient could have myopericarditis and electrical activity at the same time. But the most common is really garden variety atherosclerosis, cardiovascular disease that other people have, affecting the vessels, but at a much younger age, unfortunately. So, okay, I think I just went through most of those things. So in terms of the much younger age, there really it is well known that the relative risk compared to general populations for cardiovascular events in lupus patients is much younger. So among asymptomatic patients who were screened, people with lupus who didn't have any chest pain or shortness of breath or other cardiovascular symptoms, patients with lupus had much higher rates of atherosclerosis detected by a CT scan with coronary artery calcification across all age groups. And there's one really important study from a number of years ago, back in 1997, that gets widely quoted, is that, and you can see compared to women in the Framingham Offspring Study, which is a cohort of women that were followed for many years here in Massachusetts, just people in the community. So they were controls. The risk of heart disease, of MI in particular, myocardial infarction or heart attack, was much higher in every age group. You can see here in every age group from age 15 to 64, the brown bars are the lupus patients, much higher incidence. And then when they calculated that the compared to people who are the controls, age 35 to 44, this higher incidence was 50 times higher. But here, it actually didn't even happen in the community among people who were 15 to 24 and 24 to 34, 25 to 34. And as you know, lupus really, as an intro, predominantly affects women. So these are young women, and young women are protected against heart disease in general, except if you have lupus. It's still, the absolute risk is still low because, 6 or 7 times or 50 times or 100 times, 0 is still relatively low, but it does happen. It's the relative risk is much higher. And here at all age groups, the relative risk was much higher. So that's really the take home point, that we have to be aware that there's a high risk. And a lot of this is, there's many different types of heart disease. There can be heart disease from blood clots, which is if you did a catheterization, you don't even see a big obstruction. You don't see atherosclerosis. The majority, as I said, is accelerated atherosclerosis due to foamy, lipid-laden macrophages. So the cells inside the blood vessels are full of cholesterol, and that makes these big unstable plaques of cholesterol and greasy material that can rupture and cause a heart attack or another peripheral in your arms or legs, blood clot that can impede the blood flow and cause big damage, a lot of damage. Or there can be these abnormalities that start very early in the coronary microvascular. So these are the tiny little vessels around the heart that feed the heart, that also, even before the big one, the big accelerated atherosclerosis or the blood clot, we can dissect that this microvasculature is abnormal. And last, I just wanted to say that there are many reasons that their lupus patients have high cardiac risk, and we have to be aware of all of them. So we know that there is altered cholesterol metabolism, and we know how important high cholesterol is in the general population. And we know that people who have lupus, probably because of, a lot of it is because of systemic inflammation, and alters the processing and metabolism of triglycerides and very low density lipoprotein with abnormal lipid profiles and low HDL, which is the good heart healthy cholesterol. Especially people who have kidney disease, lupus nephritis can have very high cholesterol levels, and that really needs to be watched. There's also a procoagulant state, which means that blood clots are much more likely to form, and this can be due to increased fibrinogen from inflammation, and also antiphospholipid antibodies, which I already mentioned, which really predispose people to having blood clots. And obviously, with a combination of cholesterol and blood clots, there's also ongoing vessel damage from, as I mentioned, all that inflammation and targeting of self by autoantibodies and complement and immune complexes that then deposit on the vessels, cause a lot of inflammation, and that can even cause inflammation of the vessels, which is called lupus vasculitis, which is luckily rare but very severe, and that can happen in the heart and with a vasculitis of the vessels in the heart, but they can also happen in any blood vessel in the body, in the skin, in the kidneys, in the abdomen. And then the endothelium, the cells lining the blood vessels, we're learning more and more that they really have a lot of function. They work to keep the blood vessels healthy. There's a lot of turnover. They make a lot of factors that keep all the blood moving smoothly. And we know that there's impaired endothelial function. Actually, the endothelium can dilate and there's more blood flow when you need it. So if you're running a marathon, you need more blood flow to your heart. The endothelium has to be healthy to dilate the blood vessels and make sure the blood gets to the right area. And we see this increased plasminogen activator inhibitor, among other things, which shows that the endothelium is not working. So there's many reasons in lupus. We have to be aware of them all, but a lot of them, most of them are related to active inflammation. And then the other big one that causes heart disease and contributes to all of these risk factors is prednisone use or steroids. And they go together because unfortunately we still use a lot of steroids in lupus. We're trying to get away from using steroids in lupus, but they still are a mainstay of our treatment. We try to taper them down and get them off immediately, but they are one of the quickest acting medications They're still used for all the life-threatening complications of lupus. And while they dampen the inflammation of lupus, they can exacerbate and make worse a lot of the risk factors for lupus. They make your cholesterol worse. They make your blood pressure worse. They can damage the endothelium themselves. So there's lots of things that the steroids aren't good for, while they do decrease systemic inflammation. So I don't know if there are questions yet, but I can stop sharing my slides now, and I'm happy to take any questions if they're out there.
Thank you so much, Professor Costenbader, for that really great overview. We have a few questions already, and I think you've answered one of the first ones, which is how does lupus affect the various parts of the heart? So I think we've taken care of that question, absolutely. Now, there's a question about supplements that can be taken for patients with lupus with regards to heart health. So I'm going to paraphrase the questions as we go along. Any supplements?
That's a very good question. And I think I did have a slide in there somewhere, because people are always interested in diet and supplements. I'll say that for patients with lupus, I understand that there is a huge pill burden, that there's cost associated with medications. We do know a lot of medications that are very effective in treating lupus and preventing heart disease. So I'll talk first about supplements, and then about the other medications that we know they're not supplements, but they do help. So in terms of supplements, people are always interested in supplements. The one supplement I think might help, and actually in Jamaica, you probably may not need it as much as us in the north or in the middle of our country, is there's more and more research now on omega-3 fatty acids, fish oils. You can also get them in flaxseed oil and other nuts and seeds. So they have anti-inflammatory properties, and they haven't been used very much to treat lupus, because of course we have other things that are stronger that we use to treat lupus, like steroids and immunosuppressants, but they actually have a lot of anti-inflammatory effects. And in high doses, there was a trial called the Reduce It trial of a specific icosapent ethyl kind of ester of fish oil, of marine fatty acid. It was shown at high doses to reduce the risk of myocardial infarction. So if people want to take a supplement, and many people do, and I actually take fish oils now too, because I'm kind of convinced of this, I think that fish oil supplements are they've been shown to be safe. They reduce triglycerides. So there's one way they work there, if people have high triglycerides and bad cholesterol profile. And they may add to cardiac protection. There's not too much downside. They're pretty safe. They're probably more effective in people who don't eat very much fish or seafood, because we do get a lot of fish oil, omega-3 fatty acid in fatty fish. Like if you eat a lot of tuna, salmon, what other are the big fish that have a lot of omega-3 fatty acids, the fatty ones. You may not get as much bang for your buck for taking a fish oil supplement, but they haven't been shown to be very risky. They don't interfere with other medications. At very high dose, they can cause an increased bleeding, and you might want to stop them for a procedure, but I think that's more theoretical, especially and there have been trials where it's really, so the Reduce It trial, I think, was 4 grams a day. Other trials have just been 1 gram a day. There's a DHA and EPA. You want to make sure they're sustainable and they're mercury free and they're nice for the ocean and stuff. But that's the only supplement I think is advisable. There are many others there, people will say, and they haven't really been tested. But then in terms of what we do know about medications for preventing heart disease. So in terms of lupus disease, we know you have to get your lupus disease under control. So with or without steroids, hopefully without steroids, because as I said, steroids drive up your blood pressure, your cholesterol, and cause other problems. So if you can get onto a stable immunosuppressant medication regimen without steroids, that's better. And then we know statins, medications to bring down the cholesterol, are very effective. And if you do have high cholesterol, they'll work. There is some debate about whether they work well in lupus patients, but I think they do work for people who have high cholesterol, especially in kidney disease. And then the other medication, well, there are a lot of medications for lupus patients, unfortunately, but there's a class of anti-hypertensive or blood pressure medications called ACE inhibitors or ARBs, and the data there are very strong, that they work very well to prevent protein spilling into the urine when you have kidney disease, but also prevent heart attacks in people who have kidney disease from lupus or just lupus in general. So those are the medications, I think, and then the supplement. But there's a lot to take all of those.
Sure. Coenzyme Q10 is another supplement that we often get questions about, generally in cardiovascular health and in lupus. Any evidence for that?
Yeah, there's not really a lot of evidence for CoQ10. I think it was in the vogue for a while. I think it's safe. I think there hasn't been any downside to it. I know people also take it for all kinds of other things like hair loss and things like that. But I don't think there's strong evidence about CoQ10. Omega-3 fatty acids actually have been studied in trials for lupus disease activity and seem to have some activity against lupus as well. I wouldn't recommend just taking a fish oil supplement for your lupus though, but maybe there's some additive benefit. And then in terms of CoQ10, I think it's safe. So.
Okay, hydroxychloroquine. Now, all our patients.
Did I mention? I should have mentioned hydroxychloroquine. Oh my gosh. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Antimalarials for everybody. Yes.
Yes, unless contraindicated and great cardiovascular benefit, right?
Yes, I don't know how I mentioned. I missed that. Everybody takes hydroxychloroquine who has lupus or even a suspicion of lupus, and yes, it has many benefits. It adds to the pill burden, and people have to stay on it. But yes, so hydroxychloroquine, Plaquenil, is disease stabilizing in lupus. So that's great. It's not the strongest medication, but it works after about 3 months and it stays in your system long term and it prevents those flares. And it has proven many other proven benefits, including heart disease prevention. It's a favorable effect on your cholesterol, prevents maybe diabetes. It's good for your kidneys, good for your skin, good for the vessels. So it has, and it's safe in pregnancy and maybe even prevents problems in pregnancy. So it is, yes, it's the wonder drug. And I don't know why I was talking about steroids instead of hydroxychloroquine. Yes.
Let's ride the drug wave and talk about another bad guy. So non-steroidal anti-inflammatories. Some patients do have pain associated with their arthritis, and often because you can get NSAIDs, I won't call names, over the counter, there's a perception that it's safe when in fact, there's significant cardiovascular risks associated. Can you tell us a little bit more about our pain
Yeah, that's
meds?
a very good point. I think you're right about the perception that something over the counter doesn't have any side effects or the same kind of side effects. And unfortunately, there's no free lunch. And these medications do have side effects, especially at high doses. So the non-steroidal anti-inflammatories like ibuprofen and naproxen, they can be used for pain, but they do have significant side effects. So they can cause stomach ulcers and bleeding elsewhere as well. They raise blood pressure. They're very bad for the kidneys. In fact, our kidney doctors, if you've had any involvement, I'm sure yours as well, if you've had any involvement of your kidneys from lupus, really say you can never take a non-steroidal medication again. And they also do raise the risk for heart attacks because they raise blood pressure, but also they may cause thrombosis. They actually could exacerbate heart attacks and stuff. So yes, we we try to get people to come off them. It's hard. I prescribe a lot of Voltaren gel. I don't know if you can get that. It's over the counter here now. And if you have an ache or pain in certain place, I like using it because it's a gel and you can put it on your sore shoulder or on your sore wrist. And it's not as absorbed into the body, and it doesn't bother the kidneys and the stomach and the heart in the same way, and the blood pressure in the same way. It's not as
awesome. Since we're talking about our medications, we have a question from one of our patients who cites weight gain and increased appetite on hydroxychloroquine and the consequences of that. Have you noticed that in all the years?
Yeah, I think weight gain and increased appetite, I was going to say that's due to steroids. Steroids lead to weight gain and increased appetite. And unfortunately, the steroids do not make you crave, broccoli and salad in the middle of the night, but you want to get up and eat ice cream and chips. They want you to, the steroids, the way they work on you, you want high fat, salty foods, sugary foods, and the weight gain it goes on very fast. Hydroxychloroquine is actually not in big studies not associated with weight gain or changes in appetite. So I think I would look somewhere else. Hydroxychloroquine is usually pretty well tolerated. Some people can get allergic rashes, things like that. Some people think it upsets their stomach at higher doses. There are a few long-term side effects we have to worry about, but really when we started hydroxychloroquine in someone who's a new diagnosis, we usually think it's going to be very well tolerated and have very little side effects, and we don't have to worry about it for at least 5 or so years. And then we start worrying about problems that possibly with eyes and other things that might pop up.
Sure. All right. I just want to segue a little bit to talk about symptoms. And thank you so much for really highlighting and reinforcing the importance of hydroxychloroquine. We can't underscore that enough. So we have a question about chest pain, and chest pain can be, as we know, it can be from the gastrointestinal tract, it can be musculoskeletal, but chest pain is always a worrying symptom. And a number of our patients, complain about chest pain. We have to do the workup for that. What is your approach to chest pain? What would you say to our patients with regards to chest pain and the fear that chest pain is cardiovascular?
So that's hard, and I think, as I said, even young women with lupus can have heart attacks. So that's a scary thought, and so I think that there are many that are missed, and we have to take it very seriously. And chest pain can be from many different causes, as you said. So chest pain and lupus in particular can be from the heart, but often, unfortunately, women with lupus don't have typical angina like an older man would. They may have an atypical feeling that they don't recognize, and that could be their chest pain equivalent. They may just get sweaty or have a little bit of pressure. We do take chest pain very seriously. So it could be a pulmonary embolism. It could be a blood clot that got to the lungs. If there's shortness of breath, it could be the esophagus, as you said, from too many NSAIDs and reflux. It could be anxiety. It could be inflammation around the heart, pericardium. It could be, inflammation of the joints, the costochondral joints. So I think a thorough history, your doctor should be asking you a lot of questions, and then probably, an EKG, a chest X-ray to figure out, and some blood tests maybe to figure out what's going on. If it's chest pain that's there all day, every day for several months, it's probably not a heart attack. If it's chest pain that comes on more suddenly and severely, or is like pressured and it's associated with sweating or nausea, or radiates to the neck or to the arm, those kind of pains you have to take very seriously, and get yourself seen.
Thank you so much for that. I'm using my phone. Sorry if you're seeing my finger. We have a question from YouTube. One of our viewers: does lupus contribute to weight loss? I think a lot of our patients are acutely aware of the importance of maintaining, a healthy weight, and the association with heart disease and weight gain. But this is a question about weight loss, and I'm just going to throw it out to you in the context of our discussion. There's a question about weight loss and lupus causing weight loss.
Yeah, I think rarely in very active lupus, especially if someone's very sick and their appetite is down and there's a lot of inflammation, there can be weight loss. That's not a healthy kind of weight loss, though. You don't want to have weight loss due to active lupus. And then we would work up other causes. We want to make sure there's not an infection, there's not a cancer as well. So it can happen, and it's usually found in very active disease, and we look for other causes as well. So usually, unfortunately, steroids do make people gain weight. We want to keep them active and keep them on low doses of steroids, and keep at a healthy weight. So any weight gain or weight loss that you're not anticipating is, or you're not working for, is always something that we worry about.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that. We have another question from Facebook, and the question is the use of hydroxychloroquine, again, going back to our very important drug, and the eyes. So I think you touched on that hydroxychloroquine can be associated with eye disease. It can affect the back of the eye. But let me ask you, because of your years of experience and vast population that you see, including persons of our ethnicity, how common do you see this complication of hydroxychloroquine?
So that's a very good question. So I have treated a lot of patients for a lot of years, and no one has ever lost their vision. And I've had a lot of people on plaquenil. So that's the thing. I mean, it's theoretical risk. We do send people. So as I said, when I start hydroxychloroquine, I send people to the eye doctor, the ophthalmologist, to look at the retina to make sure it's normal so they can follow. And then I send them back. Actually, the guidelines say you don't have to go back for 5 years. The risk is very low. Occasionally, the way that hydroxychloroquine works, it works inside the cell, and it can deposit in the cell. And if it deposits in the cells in the back of the retina, eventually it can cause changes and problems with the retina that could lead to the loss of color vision and then loss of vision. That is extremely rare. I mean, they're probably just case reports in the literature. The ophthalmologists now have very, very sensitive ways of picking up the first signs of this damage in the deposition in the eye. And it's become controversial because unfortunately we don't have anything that works quite as well for lupus as hydroxychloroquine. As you said, like, we put everybody on hydroxychloroquine. We love hydroxychloroquine. And now my patients are getting older because I'm older and I've been seeing them for a long time. So they've now been on it. I think the risk is very low for the first 5 years, and then it starts to go up. The risk, at least, of seeing hydroxychloroquine in the eyes. And then what to do about it, the ophthalmologists often say either reduce the dose, spread it out, or stop it altogether, which can be, it needs to be, I just put someone back on it because she'd been on it for 20 years. She stopped it and she had a humongo flare with kidney disease and everything else. And I said, at this point, just go back on it along with all these other medications to get the flare under control, and then we'll broach that in the future, because losing a kidneys is much more imminent danger for her than a little bit of hydroxychloroquine in the eyes. So theoretically, it can happen after many years. I also have patients who've been taking hydroxychloroquine safely, getting their eyes checked every year for 30 years or more.
Awesome. And that's reassuring. As you mentioned, kidney disease, of course, our patients are, very aware of the fact that, that is one of the more feared complications of lupus. And when kidney disease, cardiovascular disease, is there an association? And does one increase or having lupus nephritis, so lupus kidney disease, does that increase your risk of having manifestations, cardiac manifestations, or cardiovascular disease?
Yeah, of the people who have, so all people with lupus, and especially active lupus, have increased risk of heart disease, and the people with lupus nephritis, kidney disease, are at the highest risk, or among those at the highest risk, in many ways. So kidney disease leads to high blood pressure, which definitely makes heart disease progress faster. Even routine atherosclerosis, having high blood pressure, damages the vessels and leads to propagation of atherosclerosis that can then lead to a heart attack. So that's the first mechanism. It also in lupus nephritis, a lot of the proteins go out of your blood. Your cholesterol goes very high. You become hypercoagulable, and so we do see a lot of cardiac risk in the patients with lupus nephritis, and we really have to manage their blood pressure, their cholesterol. Some people even go on anticoagulants when they are spilling a lot of protein in the urine, and all their coagulation factors are off. So it is a big risk factor, yes.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And just segue from that to talking about diet. We spoke about supplements earlier, but in terms of diet, it's always a question that comes up. And, can you just spotlight for us some of the key messages that you give your patients over the years, not just in your clinical practice, but, as being part of a larger group like Lupus Foundation of America and interacting with patients on a day-to-day basis? Outside
people
of your
are always
practice.
interested in diet. I mean, who's not interested in what you should eat and what you shouldn't eat? Diet and supplements are big. And I think while there's no, some people will say, oh, there's not one diet that's associated with lupus, but there are definitely diets to avoid because they're bad for heart disease, they're bad for cancer risk, they're bad for obesity, and they're just bad for you in general. And they probably do make your lupus worse as well. So, and there's also good things that are probably, as I mentioned already, fish and fish oils are probably heart protective and may be anti-inflammatory in many ways. So we talk about, well, I think at the extremes, there's the Mediterranean diet with lots of fish and olive oil and vegetables, avoiding a lot of red meat, avoiding a lot of fried food, and a lot of carbohydrates, although in Mediterranean countries, they do eat a lot of pasta. So with, you know, the whole Mediterranean with basket, you probably get great fruits and vegetables down there in Jamaica. So take advantage of that. All the fruits and vegetables that can grow there, you know, in season, those are great for you. And they have lots of nutrition and vitamins and minerals, and they're, you know, great for your heart, and do not increase the risk of heart disease. On the other end of the spectrum, there's what we call ultra processed foods, junk food. That is bad in every respect for obesity, diabetes, heart disease, and lupus as well. So ultra processed food is the junk food. So it's you know, here it's donuts and soda and chips and everything that comes in a bag, and you don't really know what the food ingredient is. It's not actual food. It's to be avoided. And unfortunately, in the United States, people get about 50% of their calories from ultra processed food now. The companies have been pushing it for many years. Unfortunately, our government supplements this, but people eat things that come in cans and bags and boxes from McDonald's and whatnot. It's very disconnected from the actual food ingredients. It's really bad for you. It's bad for all the things we've been talking about, you know, weight gain, being healthy, keeping your heart healthy. And I'm sure we have found in the Nurses' Health study where we studied that high intake of ultra processed food was related to the risk of developing lupus. It's very many different mechanisms. Who knows what is in ultra processed food? So eat as healthy as possible. It's expensive though to eat as healthy as possible often. I mean, fresh fruits and vegetables from the market are great, but sometimes here in the winter, it's hard to get the fresh fruits and vegetables, but do your best to know where your food comes from, to be actually close to the source of the food. I think if it's very processed and it comes in a bag that says Cheetos, then that's not real food. It's not good for your heart either.
Thank you very much. Our nephrologist, who's very active in our foundation, Dr. Raquel Lowe-Jones, is asking a question about NSAIDs again. Just to go back to talking about drugs and precipitating heart failure in patients with lupus. Have you seen that? And how often do you see it? And is it more common in the lupus population than in those without lupus?
Well, I think that in terms of non-steroidals like ibuprofen again, precipitating heart failure, they could do it by a couple mechanisms, and they do it in the general population. And people with lupus may be more prone to it because they drive up blood pressure, as we were saying. They increase blood volume. They adversely affect the kidneys. So if the kidneys aren't working again, there's the relationship between the kidneys and the heart. If the blood pressure goes very high, then the heart has to pump against that very high blood pressure, and it can start to fail. The volume goes up. If the nonsteroidals are affecting the kidneys, it's a vicious circle. The blood volume goes up. Again, nonsteroidals can definitely affect both the heart and the kidneys, and probably in lupus patients because they are prone to damage to both kidneys and the heart. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. I'm going to ask you a question that is one that always comes up. You know, as a rheumatologist, and if our patients have a primary care physician, this is an important partnership. And you know, the theme for this month is Loop, us, you, me, us, stronger together. We're definitely stronger together in that kind of partnership. And so how do we share the responsibility of monitoring our patients, screening them? What model have you found works?
That's hard because I think, communication with PCPs and rheumatologists is really important. It's not always possible though, because I take care of a lot of patients from all over the place that have PCPs all over. I mean, our electronic medical records are getting better. I always try to send notes to the the PCP. If I know the PCP, then that works really well. But often I don't, and they're far away, etc. And I'm recommending all kinds of things. I do take care of a lot of things myself. I do start cholesterol medications. I do start blood pressure medications. I do recommend all the vaccines and do a lot of primary care myself sometimes, because I think I see patients more frequently than their PCPs. It depends on the relationship. But one key I'd say is really empowering the patient and making sure they understand. So even though I may not be doing the primary care, I review the primary care things with my patients all the time. Like, are you up to date on not necessarily heart things, but have you had your cancer screening? Have you had your vaccines? When is the last time you had a skin check? We go over all of those things. And then, talk to your PCP about your blood pressure. I'm going to tweak your ACE inhibitor medication this time, but make sure you get your blood pressure checked. So I think if patients are empowered and then they repeat at the end of the visit exactly what they're going to do, and they're set out to do and make lists, I think that helps with the communication and the important things, because it can be overwhelming. There's so many things you have to do, and it's not clear which doctor is going to take care of it. But if the patient knows that doctor said to tell you this and can reiterate it, that really helps.
Yeah, we do have a great partnership with our primary care physicians, and they're very knowledgeable about lupus. And so this kind of shared, care really, it does work, and it makes such a great difference, the communication. So thanks for just reiterating that. We do have another question on hydroxychloroquine, our favorite drug. So going back to hydroxychloroquine, can use over time cause the inside of the inner lining of the lips or mouth to be irritated? Have you found that?
I don't know about irritated, but I thought somebody was going to talk about, it's a medication, like there are other medications that do it. There's like minocycline, that because I was talking about the deposition in the cells, it can cause over time a blue-gray discoloration of the skin. So sometimes you do see that in the mouth, on the tongue, on the palate, in the ears, usually, and even in the skin of the legs. Usually at that point, I think, okay, and even if they've been having their eyes checked, I think, okay, I think that's a lot of hydroxychloroquine. We're going to have to cut down or stop. But some people are more sensitive to others. I don't know about irritation of the mouth, but I've seen the blue-gray discoloration in the mouth several times. Yeah.
When you have discoloration, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying that in terms of irritation in the mouth, it's possible people can be allergic to any medications. Hydroxychloroquine, some people are allergic to it. Yeah.
Do the skin changes reverse with stopping or cutting down hydroxychloroquine?
I think if they're very early deposition, they can, but often I've seen some cases where it's really this blue-gray deposition and it's not reversible. But that's rare. That's rare. We'll stay on the positive side for hydroxychloroquine. It is rare, and usually those people have taken hydroxychloroquine, for 50 years, which may have saved their lives. But and gotten their lupus under control, and they'd never want to come off it. But then when it really can turn the skin gray after many years.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to just pause, give you a little chance to catch your breath, and just to highlight our major sponsors for Lupus Awareness Month, partnering with the Lupus Foundation of Jamaica, Platinum sponsors, Partners Interventional Center of Jamaica, and the Gold sponsor, National Health Fund, always on board, Medical Products Limited, IPCA Laboratories, and Silver sponsors, Tawani Limited, and there are other sponsors who we will highlight as the time goes by throughout the month. And there are a number of activities that are planned for the month. This includes our print and poster campaign. You can actually pick up posters and other literature from the Lupus Foundation's Learning Center on Barbados Avenue in New Kingston, and you can mount your own displays in your schools, in your offices, just to help us to increase the awareness of lupus. And then there's a social media campaign as well. There'll be several media interviews on various networks, both television and radio and online interviews as well, just to keep, the word out strongly about what lupus is about, and about the need for partnerships. And there is a community engagement activities, church service coming up, put on purpose. So the church service is on Sunday coming at the St. Andrew's Seventh-day Adventist Church. Put on purple on Fridays. And of course, I may not give you the exact time and details for all of these events, but you can certainly check them out on Lupus Foundation of Jamaica's website. On Fridays, you can put on purple, wear purple to work, and just use the opportunity to talk about lupus, the fact that you're wearing purple, and definitely just use the opportunity to share as much as you can about this disease, and point persons to the Lupus Foundation of Jamaica, their YouTube channel, and the lupusfoundation.org for more information about the month and more information about lupus, of course. And so just really want to highlight that the theme is Lupus, you, me, us, stronger together. And this speaks about community engagement. It speaks about corporate engagement. And if you are in a position to partner with the Lupus Foundation of Jamaica through financial contributions, as you know, it's a volunteer run member-based organization, and it's dependent really on membership fees and the benevolence of the society and events like this where our sponsors do chip in. So if you want to partner, this is a great opportunity to do so. We have over 6,000 people living with lupus in Jamaica, and many have needs that transcend medical care. And your partnership will be very important in providing services like counseling, providing the opportunity to help someone who has, on a case-by-case basis, difficulty accessing advanced care when there is major illness associated with the disease, and so many more things to mention. So definitely we want to highlight the theme, Loop Us, you, me, us, stronger together. So just to highlight that. So I am going to give you the key dates, the key events. So October 5th, that's here we are doing our Ask the Expert Live. The next event, so this kicks off the events. The next event is October 7th, and that is actually at Andrews Memorial Seventh-day Adventist Church at 8 a.m. October 15th is the staging of laps for lupus, and this will be in the Emancipation Park, and you can actually access between 5 and 8 p.m. and you can register online, and you can actually do your laps online. You know, COVID had us doing laps online, so if you still don't want to come out, you can do your laps online as well. And the important annual Lupus Symposium, it's a hybrid event, so in person and online. That's October the 22nd. And the focus will be on lupus and heart health. And we have a guest expert, Dr. Iris Navarro from Milan of Cornell University. So we have another expert like Professor Costenbader with us on the Lupus Symposium hybrid event on October the 22nd. So lots to do, lots to learn, lots to share. And this is a perfect way to kick it off. Dr. Costenbader talking to us about lupus and heart health. So we just really want to thank her so much for taking the time out of her busy schedule and preparing slides for us so we could get a broad overview of lupus and the heart. And thank her so much for answering our questions so graciously with so much enthusiasm. I want to thank you for tuning in and for asking your questions live on Facebook, on YouTube, and really want to thank you for engaging in this opportunity to learn more, and I hope that you will take this information out into your community, into your homes, your family, and just, help us to spread the word about lupus. And heart health is so important in terms of our patients living longer lives, with lupus. And so, having to deal with cardiovascular disease is a strong possibility that with lifestyle modification, you've heard about, drugs, you've heard about drugs that help, drugs to avoid. So, and you've heard about the diet And of course, being physically active, exercise is very important. So all of these things will help us to really empower the community to live longer, healthier lives with lupus, because that is what lupus is now, living longer and healthier lives. So my hand again. And I just want to thank the production team. I will highlight a few. There's Javon Eccleston from JTech Consulting. Just want to invite you to like, follow, and subscribe on our social media pages. And do spread the word about these events coming up. Thank you so much to our production team, Shadeen Shaw, and we overcame the technical challenges, using the phone and reading sideways, but anything to get this event going. And thank you so much, because you make it so much worth our while and worth our efforts. Please, my final word for you on behalf of the Lupus Foundation of Jamaica is to donate. Donate. Anything will help. Every mickle makes a muckle. Yeah. So every mickle makes a muckle. So go to www.lupusfoundationjamaica.org//donate and really do help us to do what we do. So I'm going to now throw back to Professor Costenbader and ask her to just give her closing remarks, give us a charge. What is your final last word on this matter of lupus and heart?
Well, thank you so much for the invitation. And I couldn't agree more with what you just said, Dr. McGee. You said it so well. I think it is all about recognizing the risk factors and how we can take charge of our own lupus, empowering patients to know that, which medications to avoid, what diet to follow or to try to strive for, get exercise, take care of themselves, and live longer and better. And I'm really impressed with all of the things that you're doing at Lupus Foundation of Jamaica and all the events you're putting on, and what a great organization you have, and really grassroots getting all of those patients across Jamaica involved and all their families and loved ones. I'm taking away a very positive experience from this group. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Okay, so the feared call coming in just happened. Thank you so much. I'm sure you had phenomenal closing words. So thank you so much again.
Sorry about that. Going down. All of a sudden you disappeared. It was very nice to meet you.
Technology, can't live with it, can't live without it. But thank you so much, and we do look forward to hopefully having you in Jamaica. You're a friend of Jamaica and you're a friend of the Caribbean Association of Rheumatology as well. So we want to thank you so much again for participating in this event. And if you missed sending in your questions, you can join us at our Lupus Foundation on spot, October 22nd. It's a hybrid event. You can come in person as a member of the public. The event is free to you. And if you need continuing medical education, so your CMEs, your credits, you can, there is a cost for that. But definitely do come to the symposium to have all your questions answered if you have more. And it's going to be held at the University of the West Indies Regional Headquarters. It's right across the road from the University of the West Indies front gate proper, and we'll be streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. So definitely please come out. So thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Yeah, this was great. Thank you very much.
It was a lot of fun. And also see you at Laps for Lupus. See everyone at Laps for Lupus, as my producer is reminding me, Dr. Desiree Toller-Reed, the president of the Lupus Foundation of Jamaica, in my ear, Laps for Lupus. So we'll see you out. Thank you so much again. Thank you so much for your time. And thanks to everyone for attending. Thank you.
Nice to see all of you and be with you.
Right.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. Bye, everyone.
Hi everyone, it's Jordan Loren Levy, Miss Universe Jamaica 2023, and I'm here at the Lupus Foundation of Jamaica. And it's very special to be here because it's Lupus Awareness Month. We all need to be aware of our lupus warriors and be aware that this is something we need to all be together on. Community is how we push past anything in life. So you, me, us, lupus, together. Hi everyone, it's Jordan Loren Levy, your Miss Universe Jamaica 2023, and I'm here at the Lupus Foundation of Jamaica, and I want to share awareness of lupus. This is a disease that affects many people in Jamaica. This is Lupus Awareness Month, and on October 22, there's a Lupus Symposium at UWI, and I want you guys to check it out. Thank you.